So, hi Jill, thanks for joining us this afternoon. So, I'm going to ask you some questions and I just want you to be as open and honest as possible. So, we're going to kick off with what did you do prior to becoming a celebrant?
So I've had a long career is in learning and development. So I've worked in the voluntary sector or the public sector, like the NHS, for 26 years, delivering learning to various companies and organisations, mostly in the voluntary sector for various big national charities. So I'm really sort of used to like being stood at the front and sort of chatting. So it was sort of naturally uh like think those skills that I've got there sort of naturally led into celebrancy, I think.
So, why did you choose to be a celebrant? What was that sort of defining moment for you? This was the direction you wanted to go in.
Do you know what? It was a couple of things. So I went to a funeral about 10 years ago of a family friend, and it was led by a humanist celebrant. And I'd only ever been to funerals that were in churches that were led by vicars, really. And I don't hold any religion. And I just thought genuinely that was the only type of funeral that existed, the one with the vicar and all the things. Anyway, I went to a family friend's funeral with a humanist celebrant, and it was joyous, which I didn't think a funeral could be. The celebrant really talked to us about what the family friend was like as a person, what she'd achieved in her life, everything that she wanted to do. Her friends came up and spoke. There was laughter, there was lots of music. And I remember walking out of it at the end and saying to my husband, "You can do that for me, something like that for me." And that always stuck with me. And then, so if I fast forward then like to now, I went to unfortunately a school friend of mine passed away, and they had a celebrant for his funeral, which I watched on video. And again, another joyful celebration of his life. Unfortunately, he was very young when he passed away. It's very sudden, and he'd been such a vibrant character. And when I think if they'd had the quite serious funeral with whoever, for him, it wouldn't have suited who he was. It's great big character, and the celebrant delivered an amazing celebration of his life that suited his character. And I remember thinking, God, that's amazing that you can do that for somebody. So then I thought, I wonder if I could do something like that. And I didn't really think about it much. And I think I might have Googled it a little bit just to see. And then, of course, I started to see my algorithm chose you guys and started to show me adverts for AMC, and I got more and more curious. I kept screenshotting things and thinking, "Oh, I don't know, I don't know." And then eventually, in early spring 2025, eventually took the plunge and signed up to weddings because I just thought, do you know what? I'll probably enjoy studying, if nothing else. And then if I really enjoy the study, then maybe I might have some transferable skills. So, and that's how I ended up started off doing weddings.
Exciting. And like you say, it's that lived experience of what a difference a great celebrant can make to
Yeah.
someone's farewell or someone's wedding, whatever the ceremony is. Sometimes you have to have seen it from the other side to appreciate the difference that that can make.
Yeah, it's totally. I just literally didn't have a clue that there was another option other than the very morose, sort of sad, dour sort of. And even like when my mum passed away, my sister didn't actually want to come to the funeral because she was really nervous about how upset she might be. And the person that was lovely that did the funeral, but we only met them the morning of. Like it was just some guy we didn't know. And I did think to myself about my sister. Imagine if my sister had had the chance to meet the person. My sister's got quite like a rude sense of humor when it comes to things. It's how she copes with stress. She makes farting jokes when she's the most nervous. And I thought, but if we had a celebrant that knew that about her, and everybody knows that about her, so she could have relaxed a bit. And I just thought, why wouldn't I want to give that to people? Also, as well, my husband is neurodivergent, he's autistic. And when we got married, um, he was so nervous about having to speak out loud that he asked for a copy of the vows in advance and he memorized them because he was really, really worried about speaking. But then on the day, um, well, so before that, sorry, we'd asked the registrar, could we add in an extra line because my husband is a Liverpool supporter, and whilst I'm not particularly a football fan, I love the idea of Liverpool's motto is that you'll never walk alone. Um, so I asked the registrar, could we add in a line? I promise you'll never walk alone. And she just pulled a face. She did it, but very reluctantly. So she went, well, where do you want it? Well, okay. Right. Anyway, so we got to our wedding and my husband had memorized the lines. But on the day, the registrar said something a bit different. And he wasn't listening to her because he was nervous. He just said what he'd remembered. So he said it wrong. She corrected him in front of everybody. He just went red from the neck up. I would hate for anybody else to have that experience. So that was kind of another reason why I kind of decided to start with weddings because I thought, well, if you've got anybody that's, to be neurodivergent, to be nervous about public speaking, but if you've met with your celebrant and chatted through it all, wouldn't you want that big day of yours to feel less stressful? I definitely would.
Oh, absolutely. And you want to feel like you're in safe hands, that somebody understands how you're feeling and acknowledges what your
Yeah,
challenge might be, whether that be remembering words, saying them in the right order, standing in front of everybody. You want somebody who sees that and how that impacts you and can support you with that. And like you say, a celebrant can do that for you.
100%. Yeah. And I've spoken, I've done quite a few wedding fairs, and I've spoken to couples around it. And like I said, they don't have to be neurodivergent to be nervous about speaking in front of a lot of people. I've done this for like 20 odd years. It feels like nothing to me. For other people, they would rather run in the other direction than have to do some public speaking. So I try to help people feel more comfortable around it. I always say, you don't have to say the words. How about you say them and I say them and then you just agree with me. I'll say the words and you just go yes or no. Or in Liverpool, they might go, yeah, all right, Gail. Like I've had somebody say, could they say that to me? And I was like, you absolutely can just say that to me if that's what you want. So yeah.
So why did you choose to train with the AMC? Because you obviously had a little look around, you obviously did a little bit of research. So what brought you to us, apart from the algorithm?
Apart from the algorithm. So what was really interesting was I attended one of the, I don't know what it's called, the introduction calls. If you're interested in being a,
Webinar.
yeah, the webinar, yeah, the
Yeah.
webinar. I was actually away in a Premier Inn, um, delivering some training myself. And I noticed there was a webinar and I just was so curious about it. And I sat there listening. I screenshot as much as I could have, made a load of notes. And the couple of things that attracted me to the style of uh, delivery was the colourfulness of the presentation. I know that sounds silly, but I just thought, I we live in a world that can be so grey. So the colourfulness and cheerfulness of it all made me go, I love that. The person that was presenting was really helpful and useful. I think it might have been Helen, maybe. It was really helpful and useful, answered loads of questions. There's somebody in the chat answering questions. And I immediately felt welcome. Now, I wasn't talking to anybody on a webinar. They can't see me. I can only see them. But I immediately felt welcome. And I thought, okay, I feel like this is probably people that I can work with. So I had a little call with my husband. I was like, I think I'm going to do it. And anyway, within the week I did. I just signed up.
Amazing. So how did the AMC support your learning and your growth when you were with us then?
I have been lucky enough to I'm on my third mentor. I had Miranda for weddings, I had Roz for namings, and now I've got Sono for funerals. And the relentless positivity and support has been immense. I They're lucky with me, I suppose, that I'm not a nervous student and that I'm confident with learning systems and everything like that. So lucky, I suppose, with me in one way, but the communication I've always had has been fantastic. If I've had to ask the odd question, I've always had really happy, cheerful responses. Um, all the learning materials online, the learning system that you use on the website, I found really easy to use. Everything's downloadable. Um, the instructions are really, really clear, I think. And so every time I've had to speak to anybody, the communication has been unerringly positive friendly and helpful. So I've never come away from any question, any meeting with any questions. I feel like everything that I could have asked has been anticipated. So even after every kickoff call or whatever it is, I've had an email from the mentor straight after to say, this is what we talked about. This is what you should do. This is going to make it successful. And it's been really helpful. And the only time I've ever not achieved the thing I wanted was when I didn't read the email. Genuinely, I didn't read it properly because I thought, well, this is my third one. I know what I'm doing now. No, 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 no. I should have read the email because it would have told me exactly what to do. So I've had nothing but support, to be honest with you.
No, that's brilliant to hear. So, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about becoming a celebrant or just starting their celebrant journey?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I would say a couple of things. Uh, Sometimes you've got to do something even though you don't feel ready. I have learned that. I don't know when I will ever feel properly ready, and if you wait forever, you'll never do it. So sometimes you've got to think to yourself, I don't know if I feel ready, but I'm just going to do it anyway because to do it sounds silly, but to make things happen, you've just got to do something. So you've just got to plow on regardless. I also think that you've got to decide what it is you actually want to get out of being a celebrant because it is way more than just being the sparkly person at the front delivering the ceremony. It is so much more than that. There's so much work to set up in the background, so much networking to do. You've got to come out your comfort zone in almost everything if you've never run a business before. Um, but it is totally worth it. If you um, there's a lot of work to be done. You'll never feel ready. But if you decided what you want to do, just kind of do it. And if it goes wrong occasionally, learn the lesson, pick yourself up and move on. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, great advice. And you'll never be ready. If you
No,
wait till you're ready, you'll never do it because
no.
there'll always be something you don't feel ready in.
I've just left my full-time role and taken a part-time job because I thought to myself, I always felt like I was working and then not having enough time. I was always felt like I didn't have one foot firmly in one place. So I just had a little chat with my husband and went, I'm gonna have to, well, what if I'm not? And I had that real moment of, and then I went, look, I'm just gonna do it because I would hate to get to a certain point, age, whatever it is, and think, oh, I should have done that because well, I just do it. So here I am.
Here you are. So, what was the most exciting or the most inspirational part of your celebrant training with us?
I loved, oddly, doing recording the live ceremony because I felt like it was the first time I got to sort of do it out loud. And I did it in front of with my help from my sister and her husband and my niece and my husband. And we sort of let this. I've seen some brilliant setups, by the way, from some of the students where they've got all the props in the world. I just didn't have the room or the props, so we just had dining room chairs, things like that. And it didn't make my ceremony any less real because um I I sort of do you know what? It sounds silly, but I was really proud of myself when I'd finished because I was a bit nervous because I care about it. And I did the thing, and I just thought it was the first time I thought, oh, I can do this. Because I felt like up until that point, up until I'd recorded my live ceremony, I sort of just been practicing. And then I felt like it was the first time it felt really real that I was going to actually I mean, marrying my sister and her husband already married, but it gave me so much confidence. I was sweating when I finished. I was all sort of, but it gave me so much confidence just practice the real life ceremony in front of people. And even my sister, who is quite, she has got a funny sense of humor. She didn't laugh. She just looked dead chuffed, like it went really well. So I had a moment of, oh, I think I said, we'll do it one more time just to make sure. And she went, I think you got it the first time. We did it one more time for security, but she said, no, I think the first one was good. So that live record was that real litmus test for, um, can I do this? It turns out I can.
And it's such a nice feeling, isn't it, when you get to the end of that first ceremony, whether it be the recording, the live, the real thing, and you think, oh, I've done it. I've actually done the thing, because like you say, everything else is sort of led up to that. But until you're actually there and doing it, it's a very different feeling. And it's good to be proud of it. It takes a lot of work to get to that point, and it's all your hard work coming to fruition in that one moment.
The ceremony, I think delivering the ceremony is the last 10%. Like I think if people think that's what they're getting is you perform the ceremony, it's the last 10% because all the if you make it look easy in that last 10%, it's because you've worked so hard in the previous 90. Like that's all the work's been done. To make something look effortless to create is a lot of hard work. So by the time I had my ceremony folder, um, and everything's good to go, I'd spent so much time um, and that's why my sister went, "Oh, that was really good. Good, good," because I've worked really hard on it.
I always describe it as a gatter. There's lots of layers, there's lots of fillings, there's lots of things that have to be at different temperatures, and then it all comes together, and then you place that very shiny little cherry on the top, and that cherry is the ceremony,
It
and
is.
everything else underneath is what holds that ceremony up.
And that's
But yeah, it's a lot of work. So, is there anyone on the team that you would like to give a shout out to, and why?
I would say probably to Miranda Ash because she was my first mentor and she was so nurturing and thoughtful towards me and gave me loads of great tips and advice. Um, just really giving me the confidence with her feedback that that it went from practice to possible. I think maybe that she gave me the confidence to go, okay, that was really like I thought it went really well, but then somebody who is so experienced also thought it went really well and passed me, and I thought, okay, I can do it now. And also, I had my I asked for a little bit of advice from her a couple of weeks ago, which is above and beyond because my her mentorship's finished. And I couldn't ask in any public forums because there was a confidentiality part to it. So I asked Miranda for it and she helped me really quickly. She sent me a voice note. And it was, I wouldn't have asked, I couldn't think of anybody else to ask because there was a real confidentiality part to it. And I just was so grateful. She's been fabulous. So big thank you for Miranda.
Amazing. So, tell me a little bit where you are now on your celebrant journey.
Well, so I have just reduced my salaried hours, so now I only work part-time for somebody else. I I thought when I first started a year ago, I'll be able to finish work and then full time and I'll go straight into celebrancy. That's not how it's worked out for me because I realise now with a bit of experience that the celebrancy side of my work has to build with relationships and everything. So but I've reduced and gone part time. I've done a wedding and a vow renewal so far. I learned brilliant things from everything, and I made myself laugh though. I in the wedding I forgot to tell people to stand up, and in the vow renewal I forgot to tell people to sit down. So I've obviously bigger letters on my scripts. But I learned loads from both things. I don't think anybody could tell in the first wedding that it was my very first one. To be honest, the bride and groom still don't know because for me personally, I wanted to give myself the confidence of them thinking that I got it because I did have it, and I have done that couple, and I've got another wedding this year, and I've got about 5 or 6 booked in for next year. I've not had any bookings for namings yet, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through funerals. So hoping before the end of summer, I'll be a qualified funeral celebrant as well. Because my hope is to potentially at some point be a full-time celebrant, maybe with a little bit of other stuff on the side, but that's my hope anyway. But I realize it's going to take a bit of time. So I'm sort of slowly building it.
Amazing. So, tell me, has your life changed since you've done this? And if so, how?
Um, it really has. I have worked in a previous profession, working in learning and development for 26 years. And as much as I've loved it, I feel like I'm in the last 10 years of my working life. So it's renewed my love of people because it's changed my focus away from learning to a kind of weddings and events, which I've always loved as well. it's really renewed my love of people. And the very first time I went to meet a couple, I went to their wedding venue, and had a coffee with them. And they chatted me through their love story, and I was making notes. And they had a glorious love story, really unusual, and a little bit controversial for their friends and family. But I was just saying, I think it's really romantic what's happened, and all the rest of it. And I remember getting back in the car, and I rang my husband, and he said, "How did it go?" And I went, "Oh, I think I was born to do this job because I just love people." And I love chatting to people. I love hearing people's stories because I am curious about people. And I think the couple really loved the fact that what I thought the way that they'd met was romantic rather than controversial. And they, they they've been so grateful when I've wrote their script already for the ceremony that it just made me feel. It's made every day feel like I was doing something really positive and really wonderful and working with some families in a lovely, supportive way, which is an absolute dream for me.
So, if anyone's wanting to reach out or find you, tell me a little bit about the Curly Celebrant brand that you've created.
Oh my goodness me. So I so you can't tell today, but I've actually got really curly hair. It's too hot though today, so I've got it all up. So I was and ahhing what to call my business, and it was actually my husband that came up with, well, why don't you just be the Curly Celebrant? Which I went, that sounds perfect. My only problem is now I can never really wear my hair straight for a wedding or a ceremony because people will go, why are you called the Curly Celebrant? So I have to have it curly every time, but that's absolutely fine. Um, I I'm trying to I've done some wedding fairs, I've learned a lot. And what I hope to offer is support for neurodivergent couples and families because I have some personal experience of it within my own family, but also with my career doing adult learning. And I'm sort of like a really warm and friendly person. I'm easy to work with. So if we've got anybody that's nervous about anything, they can ask me lots of questions and I'll happily talk people through because what I want to do is help people feel like they're enjoying it, like it's a nice day from the terms of being nervous, so they can relax, they know what's going to happen. Um, and I'm just at the start, really. So I'm still learning with everything I go. From the ceremonies that I've done so far, I've learned loads. I've learned that I need to add certain things into my contract, and I've learned that I need to ask certain questions of venues, and so I don't end up shifting tables, very heavy tables at the last minute. Which I did, which was fine, but I I'm loving it so far. And I've learned how to build a website. I've learned how to set up a business bank account. I've learned how to create some social media stuff because that's not my favorite thing. Um, it's taught me so many things and I've learned so much stuff as well myself that I feel like a bit of a sponge for new information because it's all useful. And there have been a couple of people that have said, "Oh, well, I was thinking of having a celebrant, but my friend's really good at English, so I don't know, maybe he could just do it." So I've had to learn to just sort of not automatically defend that point of view because people are entitled to think what they think. Because the people that have booked me have really we've connected. And I think that's the point. That's the best part of it, really. That everybody that have booked me so far, we've really found a connection as we've been chatting. And because people talk to me about oh, you want to have a good deal on or this or that, I go, well, that doesn't feel right for me because they're buying me. They're not buying a product. They're not buying like a DJ or something or stationery, which could offer four for three for two or something. They're connecting with me. They're walking down the aisle to me. So it's that personal connection that I really love. So when if they do approach me and they're a bit nervous, I can tell by the look on their face that they're a bit nervous because I've got to know them a bit. I love that. That's just the best thing. But yeah, I'm loving it.
So, what's the one dream for the Curly Celebrant in the next 12 months then?
Oh, well, so I there's a particular venue that I would love to have a wedding, conduct a wedding at. because it's where my sister-in-law got married and it's a big stately home in Cheshire. So I would love to go there. And I've actually signed up to do a wedding fair there. So I'm making some sneaky plans to go and make friends with them. And I'm hoping to finish my funerals training as well soon. So my next job is to go and try and make friends with some funeral directors as well. Um, and just kind of build it slowly. Um, and give myself a whole year to kind of build a solid foundation because um, I've learned some stuff from approaching venues and other things. So I'm building one step at a time, really. But I would love to go to the Cheshire venue. That would be, I'm actually doing a thing in London on the Saturday, and I've got to come back from London at 6 o'clock in the morning to get back for the wedding fair on the Sunday at the venue. My friend was going, can you not just cancel the wedding fair? I was going, no, because it's the one I want to go to. So I'm going to have to get the early train and get back and just go because it's the opportunity. It's the opportunity I've got. So I've got to make that work.
Amazing. Well, we wish you all the best of luck
Thank you.
in finishing your funeral training and getting that venue. Thank you so much for chatting to us today, Jill.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.